ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome for Mr. Paddy Manning.
Thank you, Kate. Ladies, I was going to say ladies and gentlemen, but this is the Irexit conference. Trumpists, geriatrics, little Irelanders, and you're so old. Now that we've greeted you in the formal manner that our media might like, I'd like to thank Herman for this opportunity, for being your guest here today. I want to talk about the bias in Irish media, that monotone, grey, progressive thing that tells us what to think all the time. The striking thing about civil debate in Ireland is not the tiny little thin civil debate we have, but that it is all one note. We have a national government where all the parties are basically agreed on a grab bag of progressive ideas. Abortion, same-sex marriage, transgenderism, the holiness of the EU, Michael D. Higgins as our permanent president. And our journalists believe it is their job to protect that faith. Anybody advancing a liberal cause in any way will be asked the sort of questions in an interview that would be regarded as too easy, too soft for training purposes in car communications. Go the other direction, oppose the liberal causes, and you'll be attacked with the zeal of a wolverine in the last stages of rabies. Or they'll do what they do with Herman. They keep increasing the numbers against him. And they started out with 5, and they've now gone to 6 or 7. He still wins. The problem isn't that journalists have opinions. The problem is that journalists are of one opinion, and we leave the decision on what is news to a small set of clones. Identical, thinking exactly the same thing. Do you listen to the Sunday morning shows? Isn't it awful? You know, it's like, oh no, I agree more with you. I hate Trump even worse than you do. It is the equivalent of listening to toddlers in kindergarten. I'm more scared of the boogeyman than you are. I'm biased, I admit it. I balled Liberal Ireland for the best part of 2.5 years, and it's neither liberal nor pretty. Noam Chomsky said that in a democracy, propaganda is what a bludgeon is in a totalitarian state. We saw that bludgeon being exercised during the abortion referendum. Now again, as I say, I'm biased, so I'm relying on figures collected by the Edmund Burke Institute. Take the Savita case. From the date of her death, that unfortunate lady's death, to mid-June of this year, there have been 15,600 mentions of her on the RTE website. Of those, just 14,600 linked her death to abortion. But only 103, or 0.7%, mentioned the inquest verdict of medical misadventure, and only 60, or 0.4%, a little shave, 0.4%, mentioned the actual cause of her death, sepsis. That's a democratic bludgeon. Now, the in-house newsletter of Liberal Ireland, the Irish Times, did actually perform better. Of their 853 articles, 16% managed to mention sepsis, and 21 articles, 2.5%, reported the verdict of medical misadventure. Better lads, but no biscuit. It's still as Chomsky bludgeoning. That propaganda totalitarianism did not stop on the day of the referendum. In the days afterwards, we saw calls for opposition, for dissenters, to be silenced, to be removed from radio, to be barred from Twitter. The main target of that was David Quinn, a man regarded by Liberal Ireland as Pol Pot ordained into the Westboro Baptist Church. And that seemed to make it okay that it was David Quinn. In what democracy in Western Europe? And Ray spoke movingly about the changes in the EU, but mostly there's still democracies out there. In what democracy in Western Europe would journalists call for the silencing of dissenters while they were celebrating a win for the government? Is a state like that still a democracy? No, it's not in many ways. And remember, that alliance between the journalists and the politicians isn't just a marriage. It's a ménage à trois between the journalists, the politicians, and the new social media. The Silicon Valley Huxleyites making a brand new Zucker world where they will tell you what to think. They will gather your data. They will direct the ads. And woe betide you if you're a Conservative or Herman Kelly. Far too much of our politicians' national self-esteem depends on having the HQs here. Look, people, we matter. We've got Google and Twitter and all of those. When Google says jump, Varadkar asks, is this high enough from mid-air? You're today engaged in the worst of all possible heresies for that ménage à trois. You are talking against the EU. I've seen you trap speakers who thought that leaving the EU was a good idea. Have you any idea of how bad and evil you are? Well, hello, fellow heretics. But there are consequences to an echo chamber this deep, this bad. The deliberate ignoring of the opinions and beliefs of 1/3 of the people at any one time is poisonous for democracy. And it also shows us just how hypocritical the liberal media is. They talk about an inclusive country, but they want to exclude you. They talk about trusted women, but they don't trust you or you down there. You're not to be trusted. Worse again, bad ideas thrive when they're not examined and debated. When we don't examine the emotional arguments put forward by liberal politicians, because we can't, they thrive. We can't solve national problems if there's no national discussion. Media is how a democracy talks to itself. If we can't have that debate, if we're not allowed to debate big issues, which we're not, well then the big issues don't get solved. Media isn't the message. Marshall McLuhan was wrong. Media is just a method. It's just wires and streams, and they're not the problem. The problem is, in the words of Gary Kavanagh, every journalism school is a liberal madrasa. It's a faith school for liberals, turning out good little bigots who don't realise that the fact that they all converge on the one idea isn't a sign of intelligent people reaching the right conclusion, but of absolute rancid bigotry in operation. Exceptions. But they're not the ones who are asked back to the journalism school to speak to students or receive honorary doctorates. You started a debate here today about media, about our role in Europe, about where we are. The media is very taken up at the moment with anniversaries. It's the anniversary of this, or the anniversary of that. And most of those are 100 years ago. But the most important anniversary in modern Ireland, the 10-year anniversary, is coming up upon us fast, and it's not going to be covered. And if it is covered, it will be covered in camouflage and lies and deceit. On the 29th of September 2008, the government announced a banking guarantee. A banking guarantee because every single bank in this country was bankrupt and burst. It has never happened. Outside of a war zone, I don't think it's ever happened. Should have consulted Dr. Ray Kinsella on this, but I'm pretty sure it has never happened that every bank was gone. The European Central Bank has never been held to account for its role in that disaster, for its negligence. When Irish banks were consuming 120 billion a year in foreign credit, largely short-term paper, which is heroin for banks, the European Central Bank ignored it. It ignored its mandated duty under the Maastricht Treaty, these sacred treaties they tell us about, to monitor and control capital flows between countries. When our banks did go wrong, when it meant money had to be sent into the banks, that was printed. From thin air, not loaned, not borrowed, printed. And now, every year, the same European Central Bank insists that that money be paid back. 3.5 billion a year of your money, of the wealth you create. And what happens? It goes into the central bank and it's clocked to zero. I want you to imagine Pascal O'Donoghue with a wheelbarrow, stacked with €500 notes, and he leaves Merrion Street, government buildings. And he wheels that down past the National Gallery and the Mary Robinson Centre for Climate Justice, and off down to the Central Bank Plaza. And the Central Bank governor comes out with a bottle of lighter fluid, and he pours it on it, and he burns it in the wheelbarrow. And when the ashes are cooled, Pascal takes his wheelbarrow back, the long, lonely journey back to Merrion Street, for next year's sacrifice. Disgraceful that your wealth is being burnt. But it's worse, because while that 3.5 billion is being burnt, the European Central Bank has been printing money to raise inflation, to fund the EU, to fund growth at a rate of 30 billion a month, 2.5 trillion. But they're making us pay back. That's not the European Central Bank. That is your enemy's central bank. You've started a debate. You're starting a party. And you're going to have to work very hard to make sure you're not silenced, you're not shut up, you're not disappeared and unpersoned. That's going to mean creating a new media. It's going to mean creating a media separate to that legacy thing that's dying. It's going to mean creating... It's going to mean creating a media separate from the Silicon Valley bands. Because if you're on Twitter or if you're on Facebook, you can be disappeared overnight. So it's going to have to be separate from that. Ray Bassett mentioned corruption. The moving into European jobs, the funding coming in for propaganda. Well, what about the proposal that you're going to have to pay for the old media that you will no longer buy? Are you happy to put your money into the Irish Times?
No! No! No!
Well, you need to let the government and Fianna Fáil hear that, because that's what they're proposing. They are effectively proposing a fascist state, where the government pays the media and the media gives the government what it wants. Ray also mentioned the movement from the civil service into Europe. What about the much worse movement? That desire for almost every journalist in Ireland to become a government spin doctor, to be employed. So they never examine government, because to do that would imperil their chances of moving in to be a minister's programme manager or communications person. We need a 5-year bar from the time you can be a journalist to the time you can work for the national government. Chesterton said that only dead things go with the flow. Live things swim against the stream. I'm looking out at a room of people who have decided to swim against the stream, and I have no doubt that you have the courage, the patriotism, and the vigour to do just that. But you're going to need to bring others with you. You're utterly revolting, and I love you.